The Boston Celtics are in trouble, not because of their talent, not because of their coaching, but because of something even the best teams can't outrun: money. With a record-breaking payroll and their franchise star sidelined for the entire next season, the clock is ticking. And suddenly, Holiday, one of the NBA's most respected defenders and quiet leaders, might be gone, traded, shipped out, just like that. But here's the real shocker. It's not the Lakers, not the Heat, not even the Clippers. The team making a move for Holiday, it's one you'd never expect until now. And if this trade happens, it could flip the balance of power in the West. The Boston Celtics just won big, but behind the scenes, they're losing a different kind of battle. Money. Boston isn't just paying their stars, they're paying everyone. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis, Derek White, and of course, Holiday. Layer in coaching, bonuses, and rising extensions. And suddenly the Celtics are looking at a $500 million payroll when you count luxury taxes. That's not just massive, it's record-breaking. No team in NBA history has paid this much to keep a roster together. Not even the Durant-era Warriors. And here's where it gets complicated. You can't just run it back when that kind of money's involved. Especially not when one of your core stars, Jason Tatum, is expected to miss the entire season following Achilles surgery. That changes everything. Now, instead of chasing another finals run, the Celtics are forced to think long-term. How do you stay competitive without your best player and without sinking your future into a roster you can't even keep together? That's where Holiday's name comes up. He's not the weakest link, not even close, but he's the easiest contract to move. At $32.4 million, he's the single biggest cap hit they can offload without blowing up their young core. And at 34 years old, isn't exactly part of the Celtics' 5-year plan. He's a leader, a winner, but he's also a number in a spreadsheet. And in a league where financial flexibility is everything, that number might be too big to keep. Which brings us to the next blow, one that makes all of this even more urgent. Jason Tatum wasn't just the Celtics' franchise player. He was their identity, the face of the team. The one every plan, every contract, every championship dream was built around. And now, he's gone. Not traded. Not sitting for load management. Gone for the entire season with a devastating Achilles injury that demands surgery and a long, uncertain recovery. For any player, that's terrifying. But for someone like Tatum, young, ascending, and already a cornerstone of the league, it's a nightmare. And for Boston, it's a turning point they never planned for. Suddenly, the most well-built roster in the NBA feels unstable. This wasn't supposed to happen now. They had just retooled, just re-signed, just brought in defensive beasts like Holiday to complement Tatum, not carry the load in his absence. And that's where the pressure turns into panic. Without Tatum, the Celtics aren't chasing a title, they're holding on. The offensive engine is gone, the leadership has a hole, the expectations vanished overnight. And with no guarantee Tatum returns at 100%, the front office has to ask the question no fan wants to hear: is this the beginning of the end for our championship core? Because you can't justify a $500 million payroll if your top player isn't even on the court. Now every contract gets reevaluated. Every veteran becomes expendable. And in that audit, one name sticks out: Holiday. He's everything a team wants: experienced, tough, respected, and clutch. But he's also 34, on a big money deal, and part of a plan that doesn't make sense anymore. Not with Tatum gone, not with a year in limbo. Boston needs a financial breather, and maybe even a soft reset. And as all eyes shift to who might be moved first, a new player emerges. Quiet, calculated, unexpected. A team hungry for veteran leadership. One looking to make a bold move now, while the rest of the league waits. The Sacramento Kings. While the Celtics scramble to balance books and brace for Tatum's absence, another team quietly sees an opportunity. The Sacramento Kings. Now, to the casual fan, that name might not raise eyebrows. But those paying attention? They know something's shifting out west. The Kings aren't playing for lottery picks anymore. They're done being a punchline. This is a franchise that wants to win, and win now. And with Scott Perry stepping in as the new general manager, the direction is clear. Sacramento isn't here to tinker. They're here to make a move. One that could shake up the entire Western Conference. The first step: filling the massive hole left by De'Aaron Fox, the explosive guard who once carried the Kings' identity. Whether it's trade speculation, locker room friction, or just timing, Fox is no longer seen as the long-term solution. So the Kings are looking elsewhere. They want a veteran, someone who can command the floor, elevate young talent, and bring championship-level experience to a team that hasn't sniffed that kind of pedigree in decades. Enter Holiday. He's exactly what Sacramento needs: A floor general who doesn't need the spotlight but always shows up when it matters. A guy who guards the best player on the court and still finds a way to lead the offense. And unlike flashy names or unproven projects, comes with a proven resume and a reputation for being all business. For the Kings, this isn't just about adding a name. It's about changing the tone of the franchise, sending a message to the league that they're almost done with moral victories. This move would bring playoff poise to a roster that's lacked stability in clutch moments. But Sacramento's interest doesn't mean the deal is easy. Far from it. Because as the Kings prepare their pitch, the Celtics are making it clear they're not giving away for nothing. The Celtics may be open to dealing Holiday, but that doesn't mean they're desperate. Brad Stevens and the Boston front office know exactly what they have. A veteran leader with elite defense, postseason experience, and real trade value. If they're going to give that up, it has to hurt in return. So let's talk price. Boston wants two things: salary relief and a first-round pick. Sounds simple, but it's not. Because his contract is a hefty $32.4 million. And that means any team acquiring him has to send out matching salary or enough assets to justify a financial hit. That's where the Kings hit a wall. Sacramento could offer picks, but their future is already murky. They're not bottoming out. Their draft capital isn't elite, and as for matching salary, the names floated around haven't impressed Boston. Some rumors point to DeMar DeRozan as a potential piece in a multi-team deal. His contract is big enough, and the Kings reportedly have eyes on him too. But DeRozan brings a different set of issues. He's older, not a strong defender, and doesn't fit the Celtics' new timeline without Tatum. Plus, his deal isn't team-friendly. Then there's the question of whether Sacramento is willing to let go of their younger talent. Players like Keegan Murray or Davion Mitchell would sweeten the deal, but at what cost? If the Kings give up too much, they risk gutting the very depth they'd need to make a playoff run with Point. And Boston, they're not interested in a roster dump. They want flexibility, not another aging contract that ties their hands next year. It's a delicate dance. Every offer must solve two problems at once: help Boston get leaner financially and help Sacramento get stronger on the court. That kind of trade takes more than interest. It takes precision. And as both sides weigh their options, another threat quietly rises in the background. Because Sacramento isn't the only one eyeing Holiday. While Sacramento is cautiously working the angles, they're not alone. Other teams have been watching the Holiday situation unfold, and now, with Boston showing signs of letting go, they're starting to circle like sharks. Two names come up fast: the Los Angeles Clippers and the Dallas Mavericks. Let's start with the Clippers. They've been hunting for stability in the backcourt ever since the Kawhi Paul George era began, and with injuries, chemistry issues, and constant lineup changes, they've never quite found the guard to glue everything together. Would change that overnight. He doesn't need to score 30. He doesn't need the ball in his hands every possession. He just needs to defend, distribute, and close games. Three things the Clippers have lacked in critical playoff moments. Plus, LA isn't shy about spending. If it comes down to money or tax penalties, Steve Ballmer writes the check. No questions asked. But then there's Dallas. Kyrie Irving's future is unpredictable on the court and off it. Luka Doncic needs a partner he can trust. Someone who brings calm when the game is on the line. Someone who doesn't buckle under pressure. Fits that role like a glove. And let's not forget, Dallas is fresh off a deep playoff run. They're not interested in development. They want rings, right now. With Holiday, they'd be adding a championship-level piece without disrupting Luka's rhythm. But here's where it gets tricky. Boston has leverage, and they know it. They don't have to trade to the Kings. In fact, they might prefer sending him to the West if it keeps him out of the Eastern Conference entirely. That means Sacramento has to outbid two hungry win-now teams with deep pockets and proven playoff ambitions. And so far, they haven't. Sacramento's window to act is shrinking, because if the Clippers or Mavericks throw down a stronger package, this whole thing ends before it begins. And that's exactly what has Kings fans sweating. Because this trade isn't just about talent, it's about timing. No matter what happens with Holiday, one thing's certain: Celtics fans feel it coming. Scroll through any Celtics thread right now and the writing is on the wall. He's gone. Too expensive. Wish we could keep him, but the money just doesn't work. And it's not just frustration, it's grief. Because Holiday isn't just another trade chip. He's the grown-up in the room. The guy who led with calm when the offense stalled. The one who shut down star guards when no one else could. A pro's pro. He helped stabilize Boston's identity. And in the chaos of high expectations, locker room egos, and mid-season slumps, he never made headlines. He just made plays. Fans aren't angry at him. If anything, they're disappointed at how business always seems to win. And this feels like one of those moments where loyalty gets replaced by luxury tax math. Some fans hold out hope. Maybe Boston figures out a way to keep him one more year. Maybe they delay the cap crunch. Maybe, just maybe. But most aren't naive. They've done the math. They've seen the projections. They know what losing Tatum means for the timeline and for the books. Holiday was brought in to be the missing piece in a championship puzzle. But now that puzzle is cracked and fans are bracing for what comes next. Meanwhile, in Sacramento, the vibe is completely different. Their fans want this. They're starving for a veteran who actually plays defense. Someone who doesn't shy away from the moment. Someone who knows what it takes to win. If the Kings land, they know it's not just a personnel upgrade, it's a culture shift. A signal that the front office isn't afraid to spend, to take risks, to chase greatness instead of just hoping for it. And for a franchise that's been stuck in the almost category for far too long, that's everything. But what would this trade really mean for both sides? That's where the story gets even more complicated. If this trade goes through, it won't just change two teams, it could shift the entire landscape of the NBA. For the Celtics, it's a brutal but necessary reset. Moving Holiday means giving up leadership, poise, and playoff experience. But with Tatum out and the luxury tax bill ballooning out of control, Boston is choosing financial survival over emotional attachment. It's not about giving up. It's about surviving long enough to strike again when their superstar returns. This is what elite front offices do. They make hard choices to stay in the fight, not just this season, but for the next 5. And for the Kings, this is the moment they've been waiting for. The opportunity to grab a battle-tested leader who brings more than box scores. Holiday would walk into that locker room and instantly change the culture. No more excuses. No more next year. It's win time. But it comes at a price. If they pull the trigger, they'll be sending a message that Sacramento isn't just happy to be here, they're ready to disrupt the West. And if they don't, they risk watching land with the Clippers or the Mavericks and become the piece that beats them. This trade isn't just about money or stats or cap space. It's about identity. Two teams, one at the top, trying not to fall, one on the rise, desperate to climb. So what would you do? If you're Boston, do you cut ties with a leader to save the future? If you're Sacramento, do you risk it all to finally make a statement? Let me know in the comments. Because whatever happens next, the league is watching.